Hello and welcome to another Stamp with Amy K Facebook Live, and today I'm going to show you how I made a card with the Decorated with Happiness stamp set bundle, and I'm hoping for a much better day of recording that I had last week Friday when I was trying to do my live on YouTube. I don't know for sure what happened, but that was a total mess, so I do apologize for anyone that was watching or watched the replay of that video. It was really bad. I don't know for sure what happened, but I updated everything on my phone, so I'm hoping that everything is good to go for today and we don't have any more issues. So, all right. So this is the card we're going to be making today. It's actually a really super quick and easy card. And I'll show you how I put it together. So again, it's pretty easy. Got some new fun things that I'm going to show you. Some of the new fitting florets collection items. So I'll just show you quickly how I made it, how I put it together. All right, the Decorated with Happiness stamp set bundle is the one that I've used. Hey Karen, thanks for joining today. So this is the stamp set that I've used, and I do love it. It's got some really great images in it. Love that it's two-step stamping. I love the sentiments in this one. And also, you know me, I'm a huge sucker for dies. So any stamp set that's bundled with dies, pretty much I buy it. It's just because they're all awesome, and I don't know. You know, there are dies in this set that are actually the outline dies that will cut out your stamped images. So we've got this one, and we've got one for each of the ornaments. There's a little circle here, so you can cut out the center of this. And then there are a whole pile of accessory dies, is what I call them in this set. There are a bunch of these that are just, we're using a couple of them today, so that are just designed to cut out images and not necessarily stamped things. So hey Karen and Kay, thanks for joining. So we've got a little pine bough, there's some stars, there's a bell, a bow, a little hanging bow for the ornaments, a couple of other ornaments as well. There's little toppers for the ornaments. So it's a great die set. Great stamp set. I do know that the stamp set is currently on back order, but it's looking like it's due back here in about a week or so, hopefully. So you should be able to pick up the bundle fairly soon. So hey, Marilyn and Carol, thanks for joining. And Barbara, if I didn't say hello already, I appreciate you being here. So that's the stamp set. The other thing to know about it, it is a photopolymer stamp set, which makes it super easy for stamping because you can see through and hopefully can stamp stuff kind of where you want it to be. And, you know, sometimes I still mess things up. So, all right, so those are the dies. The other set of dies that I used on this is the new framed florets dies. There's a coordinating stamp set that goes with it, a whole collection of products that I showed you last week, Friday. And I'll post the details for this collection on my blog post tomorrow when it goes live. Excuse me. So you'll be able to see all the details for this. This product will actually be available beginning November 1st for customers to order. It's available right now for demonstrators to pre-order. So if you're not a demonstrator, now might be a really good time to join so you can get your hands on this early. It's beautiful, beautiful product. So hey, Penny and Jackie, thanks for hopping in. All right, so this is the die set. Again, this is the oval that I used. There are two different oval dies in here. This one actually cuts an oval of hearts, but it doesn't actually cut the oval out of the paper. It cuts the little hearts into the paper, if that makes sense. So it's a great die set. The paper on the background of here, gingham. I don't even have to say anything beyond that. Y'all know that I love gingham. So this is one of the papers from the Fitting Florets Designer Series paper pack. So, and again, I'll show you that a little bit more detail in a second. All right, couple things before we get going. Starter kit. So I was just talking about joining as a demonstrator. If you are not a demonstrator, I know Karen, it's such a good one. Hey Jean, thanks for hopping in today. It's beautiful, beautiful product. So if you are not a demonstrator, Stampin' Up! Has a really great deal going on right now. It's always a great deal to join Stampin' Up! As a demonstrator and get that 20% at least discount for yourself. But right now, for the month of October, they actually have a really, really good deal going on where you get to pick $155 worth of Stampin' Up! Products. It can be anything from the current catalogs or any of this new product as well. In your starter kit, you get to pick $155 worth of merchandise. You pay $99 plus tax if that applies in your area. It ships to you for free. Once you join, you actually get at least a 20% discount on all of your orders that you place as a demonstrator. You get to order things early. There's another new catalog that will be coming up here in the January to June catalog, so you get a pre-order from that. So again, it's a good good time to join if you are not a demonstrator. So let me know if you have questions about that. Again, the details for this will be posted on my blog, which is stampwithamyk.com. And you can take a peek at that, and we'd be happy to have you join our team. And I would say the vast majority of the people that join only get the discount for themselves, so there's no pressure to sell. It's just a great deal, and I'd hate for you to miss out on that. So speaking of the fitting florets, so this is the new suite, or new collection. I keep calling it a suite, but it's a collection of products. It definitely does, Karen. Being a demonstrator has lots of perks. So this is the Fitting Florets collection. This will be available beginning November 1st through January 4th while supplies last on a couple of things in here. So this is a new collection that's available from Stampin' Up, and that's where the dies came from and the designer paper that I'll be using today. So the collection actually has the framed florets stamp set and framed florets dies. So these are actually bundled together if you want them both, or you can get them individually. And then they have the gold adhesive back swirls, which are pretty, and they're flat, so they're great for mailing. And then there's the framed and festive, which is a Christmas stamp set. Hey, Vicki, thanks for joining. And then this beautiful Fitting Florets Designer Series paper. It's a 12 by 12 pack. Again, you can get all of these together beginning November 1st with the one collection number, or you can order things individually, however you would prefer. So again, all the details for this will be on my blog tomorrow. So let me know if you have questions, or take a peek at my blog post, and you'll be able to find everything. And I will link up the blog post in this video description, so you'll be able to find it easily once everything goes live around 8 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow. All right, so my original card, finally, after all that talking, is a top fold card. And I wanted to show you that you can do this as a side fold card if that's your preferred card base. I know everybody has their own way that they like to do things. I prefer top fold. I know not everyone does. So I try to show you when I can a side fold card. So this card base, the top fold one, is cut to 4.5 by 11 and 4.25 by 11 and scored at 5.5. This is why I put all the details on my blog and tell you to look there, because I always say them wrong. So, and then I've got this piece of cardstock. This is Evening Evergreen as well. And this is cut to 8.5 by 5.5 and scored at 4.25 right down the middle. So again, whichever is your preferred card base, this card will work on either one. And I'm using a little bit of the multi-purpose liquid glue, and we're just going to adhere a piece of the Fitting Florets Designer Series paper to it. The backside's floral, so very pretty. But I love gingham, so I couldn't help it. I got to glue that as the side up. So, all right, so I'm sticking this together, making sure that everything's straight. I'm not a liquid glue huge fan. I use it for things like this just because it gives me a little extra wiggle room to make sure everything's straight before it's stuck down forever. All right, got card base ready to go. Actually, I'm going to do stick on a couple things here before I get going on the stamping, because I was going to do that first, but I changed my mind. So ahead of time, I cut with the Decorated Pines, I think is the name of these. It's part of the bundle with the Decorated with Happiness stamp set. These are, like I said, almost positive Decorated Pines is what they're called, dies. I used this die in particular to cut pieces of the metallic cardstock, the brushed metallic cardstock. This is kind of the medium gold color. There's a darker color, a lighter color, and then a middle color, and this is the middle color gold. You can use any of them, but I just preferred the middle color for this card, so that's why I did it. So, hey, Catherine, thanks so much. And Vicki, I'm glad you're here as well. So, all right, so got these, pre-cut these with this die, and I did snip off the ends. This normally, when it cuts it, it has quite a bit of a longer end on it, but I actually trimmed it off because it's going to be hidden, and I didn't want it sticking out anywhere where it wasn't supposed to be sticking out. And so, I just did a little snipping, a little trimming on it to cut them down a little bit before I put them on the card front. And I'm going to use glue dots for these, and it doesn't really matter if they look really pretty or are sticking out kind of weirdly underneath the die cut, because most of the die cut's going to be hidden anyway. But I'm just going to take it and stick it here on my card front. And then same thing with the other one. We're going to overlap them probably just a hair here in the middle. And again, just using a couple little glue dots. And stick one here. Get those out of the way. And we'll add this one up here towards the top. And again, generally, I wanted it to look give it a little bit more dimension, a little more, I don't know, movement, I guess, on the card front. So I did not glue these down. If you don't like that look, you can certainly use the adhesive sheets and stick them flat to the card front, or use multi-purpose liquid glue if you're better at using it than I am, and stick it to the card front, but I make a mess with it. So especially for whatever reason on the metallic paper, I end up with glue everywhere, and then it's, yuck. So, all right. So next up, I've got some of the vanilla and gold 3/8" satin edge ribbon, and it is so pretty. It's from the current mini catalog. So if you don't have this ribbon, you just really need to get some, because you're going to love it. It's beautiful for, I don't know, all things Christmas for sure, and then I think kind of everything else in between. I used a little bit of Stampin' Seal and just put about, I don't know, 3/4 of an inch or so of it on the card front here, kind of in the middle. And again, it doesn't really need to be in any certain spot or any very precise, because we're going to be covering it all up with the big oval die cut in the center. So, you know, if it's not perfect, or you have a glob of adhesive like I do right there, it's all good, because nobody's going to be able to see it. So I'm just making a wide Z. I'm going to come across once, fold it across again, stick it down in the center, and then fold it back one more time and stick it down here. And Karen, look away, because I forgot my ribbon scissors. Oh, I know this is going to kill her. So I use my snips, and it's all good. You can look back now. It's all done. So, all right. So there we go. Got that stuck down to the card front. Now I'm going to set this aside, and we'll do a little bit of stamping. I have a piece of basic white cardstock, and we're going to stamp the sentiment. We're going to do some heat embossing. So I've got the Christmas greetings stamp set, and I'm going to take my little embossing buddy and going to rub it generally over the lower part of this panel, and Versamark ink, and ink it up with Versamark. Hopefully really get a good inking on it. And again, there's no precise spot to put it. I'm just generally want it down towards the bottom and somewhat centered. It doesn't need to be perfect, because we're going to be die cutting this anyway, so nobody's going to know if it gets stamped all sorts of crazy. Let me, oh my, stick the ribbon right in the middle of my stamping. All right, then I've got gold embossing powder from the Metallics embossing powders. And we're going to shake that right over the top of the sentiment. Probably give it another second little shake here, and try to tap off all the extra. Whoop, I'm off the screen, I see. Sorry, goodness. All right, and I store my embossing powders in a little Ziploc container with a lid, so that hopefully I don't make a huge mess and send it flying everywhere when I start up the heat tool. So I've got the heat tool here. The Stampin' Up! Heat tool has 2 settings on it. There's a level 1 setting for drying, so if you're doing something like watercoloring or something where the ink takes a little minute to dry, you can actually use the level 1 setting to speed it up a little bit. And then there's the level 2 setting that's for heat embossing. So it does definitely get a bit hotter, but it does take a second for it to heat up. So that's why I'm currently just have it running, and I'm yakking away and telling you about the heat tool, so that it gives it a second to heat up. Because I want it to get a little bit warm before I point it towards my embossing powder, so that it doesn't just dry the embossing powder, it actually heat embosses it. So is the sentiment from the same set? Yes, it is. It's from the Decorated with Happiness stamp set. So, all right, there we go. And it's starting to turn shiny and smooth. And that's when you know that it's done cooking. You can definitely overheat embossing powder, so don't go too crazy heat embossing it, and you know, holding your heat tool up there forever, because you can burn it and it will turn brown and not pretty, and yeah, that's not what you want. So, all right, you are very welcome, Catherine. Like I said, it's the Decorated with Happiness stamp set. So everything, all of the images that I'm using today for the stamping are actually going to be from this set. So, all right. Next up, I have got the little circle image, which is technically designed, I think, to stamp underneath that little ornament here. But I'm just going to stamp it here on the card front in real red ink. And we'll see if we can get a good inky image here. And again, it doesn't need to be perfect. I just generally need to get it centered and up above the sentiment. And then I'm going to stamp it here. All right, lift it off. Get that out of the way. And then I'm going to grab my dies. So hit your first anniversary as a demonstrator. Oh, yes, you did. Yay. And it does have lots of perks, and I'm so glad you're enjoying it, Ginny. So we're very glad you joined the team. So, all right, got this as my die that I'm going to be using to cut out the sentiment. And it's going to cut actually two pieces. So there's going to be this nice, really pretty kind of cameo look, which I'm going to set aside because we're not going to use it for this project, but it still is really pretty. What I wanted was the center die cut out of it. And so I'm going to take this over to my die cutting machine, and we are going to cut it, and I will be back in 1 second. All right, hopefully you're enjoying your Tuesday. It's another beautiful fall day here in New Jersey, so I can't complain about that. The weather has been really good. All right, so there's the outside frame, and then this is the inside that we're sort of left with here. All right, let me get all that out of the way. All right, so again, I'm going to set this aside, and then I'll get my little die brush out and pop all the little I don't know, chads, whatever they call those things. So there we go. All right. Oh, I'm hoping that you get it today too. It's really pretty. You're going to love it. Lots and lots of good things in it. So, all right. So I've got this, and I'm going to take it and I'm going to stick it on my card front here with a couple little Stampin' dimensionals. And again, I'm going to make sure that I'm getting them top and bottom because I want to make sure that they're stuck to the actual card front and not just to the ribbon in the center. I will put one in the center over the top of the ribbon, but just want to make sure that I have some that are not just stuck to the ribbon, because sometimes the ribbon can come loose, especially when you've kind of loosely adhered it like I have. And I don't want my whole card front to come undone because I was, busy playing around and making a mess of things. So, all right, main thing to try to do here is try to get it somewhat straight and somewhat centered. All right, there we go. One thing that I'm not sure how well it shows on here, I'm hoping, well, it probably isn't going to show very well, but there's really kind of light embossed edges around the circles, and they're really pretty, or circles around the ovals. So like I said, they're very, very pretty. So it's a great oval set. So, and you haven't opened it yet, Catherine? Oh man, open it up. You're going to have lots of fun. All right. A couple of things that I also did ahead of time is a little die cutting. So this was actually cut from the same paper. It's a little bell image that I cut with the Decorated Pines dies. And I've got a couple little pieces of greenery that I cut, again, with that same die set from Evening Evergreen cardstock. Before I actually did the die cutting, I remembered for a change, because normally I do not remember to do this, but I did remember this time to put adhesive sheets on the back of the papers before I die cut them. So the reason that I like to do that with these little intricate ones, particularly the metallic papers, is because I don't know how I get the metallics all gooey, but I do. When I use my liquid glue on them, sometimes I make a huge mess. All right, so a little bell here. I'm just going to stick it over my kind of stamped image on the background here. I'm going to press it down lightly on the bottom. I'm not going to smash the top down just yet. Hey, Mary Kay, thanks for hopping in. Because I'm going to tuck a couple of these little greenery images in up behind it. So I want to be able to tuck those in underneath the little, is it the tab or the notch or the hangy thingy on the bell? I'm sure there's no official term for it. Hangy thingy is probably not it. So, and I forget the adhesive sheets very often as well, Sherry. So yes, I'm usually sitting here with the liquid glue, sticking it down, saying, don't forget to use the adhesive sheets so that you don't have to be like me and have everything stuck with liquid glue to your fingers and everything else. So I try to remember to do it. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. So, all right, so again, just tucking in and peeling the backing off of the adhesive sheets. I don't know if you're noticing on here, the way that I try to do this when I do the adhesive sheets, they come in a big pack. They're 6 by 12 sheets. So I cut them up usually into like 1/2 inch or inch strips. Like right now, this is probably, I don't know, 5/8 of an inch or so, a little piece that's laying in here. I don't know if you can see it. But I cut it up into strips, and they're in 3 sections. So then I take a little section and I stick it on the paper that I'm going to be die cutting. And then I try to place the die so that there's a little bit of an edge that I can get underneath easily to pick the backing off. Sometimes if the entire back is covered with it, you kind of have to take your pick tool or your scissors or something and pick up, try to pick the edges off, and it takes a minute. It's a little easier if you do like I did and don't cover the entire thing. Then you can peel the backing off it pretty easily. So ornament holder. So hangy thingy is not a thing. So, ornament holder would probably be the appropriate term for it, but hangy thingy also works, I guess. So, all right. So now that I've pressed the greenery around it, now I can take the bell piece and kind of smoosh that down on the top of it, make sure that everything is stuck down well. And I know that here they are. I've got a couple of the flat Jingle Bell trinkets, and I'm going to take those and stick them on here with mini glue dots. These are nice because they're flat, and actually as long as you don't layer up your card too much, you should be able to put maybe a piece of like the Designer Series paper backing on it, and you should be able to mail these. So yay, that's always a good thing. You like hangy thingy? I figured, I can't be the only one. So golly. Someday I'll come all prepared for one of these lives, and then you guys are going to be shocked and you won't even know who's presenting, because normally I'm just a mess. So, all right. So we got the flat Jingle Bell trinkets, stuck on a couple of those. And then ahead of time, I also did a little die cutting. Used the bow image or bow die from the Decorated Pines die set, which is right over there. And I cut a piece of the real red and white 6x6 glimmer paper. Obviously, this is the real red. Again, if you prefer the white, you could definitely go with that, but I thought the red added a little nice touch here. And I'm going to grab my glue dots if I can find them. And I'm going to take the glue dot and I'm going to roll it up and then stick it on the back of my die cut here. So funny thing is that you know what I mean. Okay. Or you like a thingamajiggy? Okay. Thingamajig thingy. That works too. Maybe we can come up with our own name for it. So, all right. So we've got the glue dot and I just rolled it up and then stuck it in the center of the little bow here on the back. And then I'm just going to stick it right over the top of the two little jingle bells here and kind of smash it down. And the glue dot should hold it really nicely in there. Again, if you prefer liquid glue, you can probably get it to work, but I'm afraid that'd get really messy. So I definitely prefer glue dots for these type of sticking things down, especially since there's kind of a little bit of an open gap in there. I'm afraid if you use liquid glue, it would just kind of ooze down and then wouldn't stick anything. So, all right, so that's it for the card front. So like I said, it's super, super easy. Just a couple little die cuts, a little bit of stamping, and a mess that I've left on the card front. So, all right, so that's it for the card front. On the inside of the card, I also kept it pretty simple. I've got basic white cardstock, and this is cut to 4 by 5 1/4. And then again, one of the little sentiments from the Decorated with Happiness stamp set, real red ink, just to match the outside of the card. And again, if you look in the Stampin' Up! Catalog at the page that's got this stamp set bundle on it, you will see that there's a card that's very similar. That basically I was inspired by that card, just made a couple little changes to it, and changed up the designer paper, a little bit of the layering on it. And like I said, I think it turned out really cute, and it's super easy. So got that stamped in real red ink, and got a little piece that I trimmed away from the card front. So this is about a 1/2 inch. When I start out, it's about 4 1/4, and we'll trim it down here once I stick it inside, or stick it to the card base to the cardstock panel is what I'm trying to say. Using a little bit of Stampin' Seal and sticking it together. Whoop, make sure that we get it on here, covering the whole thing though. Hardest part of the day. Sticking things on straight. All right, I think we've got it. Okay, and then I'm going to take my paper snips and trim off the little extra overhang. The reason I leave it a little bit longer is because sometimes I don't cut the inside of my card base precisely to 4 inches, and then I end up with a little white spot sticking out on the side or whatever. So I usually try to leave it a little bit longer, because you can always trim away. It's hard to add to it. And I've got, man, my driving is just horrible. I've got glue stuff stuck all over everything. All right. Take this and stick it on the inside of the card and try to wipe that. There we go. Get the adhesive off there so my card does not stay stuck shut forever. And then we'll fold it closed and do a little crease here with the bone folder to give it a good solid crease. And that's it for the card. All right, so this is the one I made ahead of time. This is the one we made today. Again, super easy with the Decorated with Happiness stamp set bundle and the pretty new paper that's available starting November 1st and the pretty oval dies that are available starting November 1st. So that's it. I appreciate you being here. Again, all the details for this are going to be posted on my blog tomorrow, which is stampwithamyk.com. I'll link it up in the description of the video, so you'll be able to find the blog post super easy tomorrow. Let me know if you have questions. I will plan to be back around 2 o'clock Eastern time on Friday, hopefully on YouTube if all is good. I'm hoping that since today went well, that hopefully the video for Friday will go well as well. And then I'll plan to be back here around 2 o'clock Eastern time next week, Tuesday. Thanks again for joining. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll chat with you all soon.